welcome to another episode of Cosmic Blueprints. And we're waiting for Tony to get here. He's having a bit of issue getting logged in. Boy, they don't make it easy for us to get on these shows. So I just told him to reboot, so I'm just waiting for him to get on the board. But in the meantime, I will helm his ship for him and introduce Karen Quinn-Tostado. And welcome back, Karen, to another episode where... well, let's tear the system a brand new one tonight, shall we?
Well, I'm for that, yes. Let's do what we can there to wake them up, shake them up, and get them to pay attention to what is truly going on instead of what we think is going on. Because when we really understand it, when we come from the heart, we'll understand that we have an obligation to change things.
Oh, couldn't agree more. And that's the thing. This is why we're so solution driven. You know, we've dealt with the fear porn and all the rest of it. Yes, there is some information out there that is not good things that have been going on. We'll be talking a bit about that tonight, but from an entirely different perspective, one of solutions and getting these things out into the light instead of what the other alternative media, people like Alex, I'm going to get you freaking angry Jones, and so many others that just love wallowing in the fear porn, and that's all they do. And there's no solutions given. It's just look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And what they're doing actually is creating that canvas for consciousness to stare at and go, oh, that's the way it is. So we like to take that canvas and whitewater it and get it back to normal and put solutions out there for people to have a look at, and that way we get a chance to change the consciousness the way it should be.
Well, it is definitely a journey, and I have to say, I learned a great deal from Alex Jones. He does use scare tactics, and I'm not inclined to agree with everything. However, being someone who is trying to learn more and more how to unite people, I think we've got to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder and forget about our small differences and our personality differences and face our opposition, which has all of us on a chopping block.
Well, that's the thing, and the reason why I do reference Alex, and no harm to him, he's waking up a lot of people. It's time to move on from that paradigm, if the intent is to move on from it or to keep people maintained in it. And it's about uniting all of these wondrous beings. And when I stop and think about what Alex could accomplish if he started going, really into the truth aspects and solution driven, wow, just the visual I see on that one alone is mind boggling. But you're absolutely right. And this is a time where so many, and I'm watching it, you're a prime example of it, of uniting different radio stations and hosts and what have you together onto the same platform where people can get their ideas shared. And that's really what we're trying to do, is get that beautiful intent, unified. We all have different ways of looking at things and how we see things to be, and going about it from different perspectives and different roads that we go at it. Like, not everyone's going to walk my road, and I'm not going to walk yours, and everyone's got their own road to walk. What I focus on is the intent of walking down our own individual yellow brick roads to create that one beautiful Emerald City.
There you go. I think it's important that we all do understand that nobody is going to ride over the hill and save us. The cavalry, unfortunately, has been deceived into working against their own best interests, as are the military men throughout the ages. You look at peaceful people who get caught up in the middle of the wars of power between different ideologies, between different colors. My husband and I have just finished watching 500 Nations. Are you familiar with that?
Not familiar with that, but I am now. It's in my universe. Thank you for popping that seed in.
Well, I hope to plant that seed within all the listeners. It is a Kevin Costner production. Gregory Harrison narrates. He is someone I went to school with back on Catalina Island. But the story really is a series of discs that cover the North and Central American early Native people. And it shows what happens. I mean, not only did they war amongst themselves, so not all of them were real cool as well. But they did have, some of them had absolutely magnificent cities. Not all of them lived in tents or were nomads. There were quite a few who were fully involved in huge cities and really lives that were worthwhile. And then you look at the Europeans who came over, and you look at the other conquerors. But in this situation, the slaughter of the native people.
Okay, it sounds like Karen was getting chopped up a little bit there. So let me just see. I'm just hoping that I'm still on the air at this point. Yeah, everything went real quiet, real quick there. So nowhere to check right now. I can't even open Skype. So I'm not even sure if we're on the air. But anyway, I'll just keep talking anyway, because you know me in dead air, right? So I'm going to try to get Karen back in here as soon as I can get my bloody Skype open. Yeah, they're starting early tonight, the kids, eh? Yeah, just don't like the way we play in our playground, I suppose. All right, let's just keep clicking away here, and hopefully Tony can show up. Oh, here we go. No, it's still not letting me open my Skype. I was able to unmute my mic at the last second there, so that's a good thing. Oh, looks like Skype's coming back up, and let's see if we can pull Karen back in here. All right, let me see. Go over to the host call. It's freezing up again. Okay, this is just going to be a lot of fun tonight. Let me see if we're back in. There we go. Looks like we're back on the air. You got knocked off, and then I got knocked off, and then I got knocked right off the board. So that was a lot of fun. So I'm just going to ask anyone listening in the well, Ron's tuned in. Ron, any chance that you're hearing us now? If you can just give me a little thumbs up, that would be great. See you in.
Looks like.
Yeah, it looks like it. Tim's back now. Thanks, Tim. See, we got people all over the world. That's Tim from Australia. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually they could still hear me. They couldn't hear, and that was just bizarre. Welcome to our world. Anyway, so you were talking about the cities, and these weren't backwards people. You're looking at massive cities that were built in the ancient cultures, and of course other communities that literally carved right into the sides of hills and mountains and created cities there as well. So we're not dealing with they are noble savages. That's a proper term to use. We're not dealing with a backwards race of people. We are dealing with very advanced civilizations that chose to live in accordance with Mother Earth instead of raping and pillaging her.
Yes, and we did the raping and pillaging. We still are doing the raping and pillaging, and I don't know whether or not your listeners heard or whether you heard that when you watch this and you see that Cortez, how ungrateful he was. Oops, am I gone? Uh-oh.
No, you're here.
Okay,
yeah.
The sound in the background changed a little bit. But
that's I mute out whenever I'm not talking, so that's probably...
Oh, okay. But they slaughtered up to 6,000 people, men, women, and children in one day, simply for power, for their gold, for conquering. And the mindset of the Europeans is the same mindset we have, unfortunately, today of wipe out those races who are living in areas where we want the resources, and then get everyone forced into going to schools that the winners decide are the ones they have to go to. When you look at what was done to the Native American Indians, and the ones in Northern America, the ones in Central America, when you look at this eugenics genocide, it's that we're never taught about in school. It is a wake-up call for us to understand it's going on now. So when you talk about child abuse, what greater child abuse is there than to slaughter the parents of the young children, to kidnap them, and to propagandize them into the schools that you want them to be in, so that they learn to obey, they learn to be slaves, they learn to simply live to serve. And that's what's going on today, and that's what we need to stop.
I couldn't agree more. And we have Tony in the call. Tony, are you there?
I think so, as long as you can hear me, okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's awesome. Yeah, it's Cosmic Blueprints tonight. I don't know if you noticed or not. So, but you got our holidays and, your lazy butt and get back to helming this ship for a couple of shows,
Look, I've been trying to freaking sign in for the past quarter of an hour, right?
I know.
Firefox has been booting me out every time I tried. So, it's a pain in the arse, but I didn't expect that. It should have been straight in, so it shouldn't have been a problem. But,
no worries. So, I'm not sure how much you've actually heard of what we're talking about, but effectively, what we're dealing with right now is the same thing that we were dealing with before. It's the Europeans coming in and raping and pillaging anything in front of them. Karen had just said there, Cortez wiping out 6,000 men, women, and children in a single day. From that's a bloodlust, a gold lust, a power lust of beings of such a degraded level that could actually do that to another human being, especially those that they could have learned so much from, and that we have learned so much from, and it's coming into visible now.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping the consciousness down again. Anybody who's who's on the positive side, they want to wipe out so that the negative is more balanced. As Ragdoll's just pointed out in the chat room, it's all to do with magic and the manipulation of consciousness. Sick stuff.
Very much so. And when you can destroy a family, when you can take children away from their parents, you create a whole culture of children who will grow up to be fearful adults because everything that they counted on when they were young was stolen from them. And of course, you're not going to have people who will think for themselves because they're afraid to. And the fact that they survived, they're going to be taught to love their servitude, which is, again, what they're trying to do now. When I covered the Child Migrants Trust, where the British government sent over 130,000. Now, that's just documented. So if they put that big a number out there that's six figures, it's bigger than that. They farmed them out. They took them from orphanages, the Salvation Army, the Church of England, the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church. We just have, a new Pope Le Pew, a petapope. I think you were the one who told me that.
I've been known to have a couple of anecdotes in my day.
That's it. Pope Le Pew, His Ass Holiness.
His Ass Holiness. Yeah. What did I say? They like teaching, indoctrination in schools like Our Lady of the Holy Ejaculate and all the rest of that nonsense that goes with it. So.
Well,
sorry.
It's okay, but we keep lining up to give away our power. We keep forgetting we each have our own divine umbilical cord. We don't need to go without. We need to go within. And I keep planting seeds for that to happen, for that great aha moment to hit. I don't like to talk about it as the 100th monkey. They already speak about us as animals anyway. It's why some of the terminology feeds into that.
A monkey, by the way, means, for me, was my key or my life, right? So, and we are all the 100th my life, my key, right? Mon chi, right? So.
Well, that's interesting. I'm looking at it from the point of the elite, the evil line inbred traitorous eugenicists, look at us as animals, the sheeple, the ones who are useless eaters. They describe their offspring as children. They've taught us to speak of our offspring as kids because that's like a goat. It's a big joke to them, all this wordplay, but they definitely are focused on our children and on teaching our children in school to obey, to memorize, to be able to answer the test questions, but not to think for themselves. I have a girlfriend here locally whose 8-year-old son gets in trouble on a regular basis because his teachers are telling him that he's not fitting in with a group. Don't think for yourself. We want group think. We want group sex. And I don't know, have you read 1984? Or Brave New World?
Oh yeah. Read those and watched the movies too. And yeah, it's Fahrenheit 451's another good one. As far as what people need to see, what was being planned. I mean, all these seeds were there for us to look at, but yeah, powerful stuff.
Well, and they really talk about what they want in terms of children and sex. I believe it's in Brave New World where the children they're raised through incubators and all the rest of it, and then when they get to be 3, 4, 5, they can go off and play in the bushes naked with each other because you just grow up having immediate gratification. You don't think about the long-term commitment to families. You don't think about that bond. You don't think about true healthy relationships. You think about immediate sexual gratification. And last weekend, my husband and I, who don't normally have television, we actually rolled up the Wheel Estate and we drove out and we stayed for a few days at a park where we had television. And boy, is it an eye-opener when you haven't looked at it for years and you see some of the sexual innuendos
the garbage
that are just, it's amazing.
It is. It's totally. And another one that I'd like to put out there is Logan's Run, which where I think it was at 30 years of age you had the right of ascension, and at which point they slaughtered you. And
was it 30 or 33?
It might have been 33 actually. And they had a mark that turned a certain color when they had reached that age. And there were the sheeple, all dressed in their gowns, and they walk into this, execution chamber basically, and thinking they were going to be, ascended,
Recycled more.
Ascended. I wondered last year with all the talk in 2012 about ascension if that was also the elite's way of telling us, here you're going to die, but we're going to call it ascension while we murder you so that you think that you're going somewhere else.
Oh yeah, well, I'm here. I got Mother Earth's back to the last breath. None gets by me. Sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, I would like to share some lyrics that kind of came through. I was looking back in some of my journals here, and this came through in 2004. I think I've always been aware of the pain around me and the senselessness of it. We're just following a bully. We have lost our moral compass. This is called Somewhere. Somewhere in his dreams it is quiet and sweet, green grass in the valley and plenty to eat. The fields are alive, the crops they grow tall, birds sing in the trees, there's enough for them all. Somewhere in his dreams there are flowers and streams where fishing is easy and everyone seems to be happy and healthy and living in peace. Somewhere in his dreams blue skies do not cease. Living and loving and caring and laughter are all that this precious young boy is after. Somewhere in his dreams he gets lost in the charms of his beautiful mother and her warm, soft arms, holding him close, holding him near, bringing him comfort, erasing his fear. But then he's awakened by the cold grip of war. The bombs are much closer, the bullets they soar. His family around him now dead for a week. He's bloody and hungry and too young to speak. Living and loving and caring and laughter are all that this precious young boy is after. It's not his fight, it's not his war. What have we done this to him for? What have we done this to him for?
For greed, for lust, for every avarice you can think of under the sun, for those degraded beings that are, so lost. And we're here to shine the light to bring them home. And seeing as we're going to be into the human trafficking aspect of things tonight, at some point, whenever, doesn't matter. I want to plant a seed right now for all the parents out there that have children. And you're the only one. I'm going to go right to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang here to give the energy and the overview of what I'm talking about. When they went to that town and all the kids were missing and they were all being hidden because they didn't want to be caught by the child catcher, and the system, the child catcher. So what I'm going to offer up to the parents is, if you want to go after fraud on the system, the only thing that you can do, and I know this will send ripples of tsunamis through them. Parents, you need to stand up and reclaim your children because you gave them away at birth, but it was a deception of the fraud, and only we can reclaim our children. I already have. This is a very powerful truth, right? Once the fraud's revealed that your children were literally stolen from you through a deceptive contract, we can't save ourselves. We can save our children. That's how it works.
We need to save our children. We can talk about that now, and we can get into more solutions later. But it's amazing to me that, so many people still show up to support the Pope, to think that they need an intercessor, to God. When you look at the history of the Catholic religion, it's absolutely full of death and destruction. If they really cared about the poor people and the children, they would open up the Vatican. They would share the wealth that they have stolen from the people down below. They would be open and honest about the Jesuits, who are just the military arm of the Catholic Church. There's been a holy marriage between religion and politics all along, and it is just useless to ignore it, because ignoring it only enables it to go further. And if we are going to protect our children, which are our greatest assets, we truly need to grow up and get beyond the self-vested interest that has so many of us trapped.
Yeah, and in such a good way too. They've got most of the people, and I do weary of talking to people that are completely engulfed in the religiocosis, Chosenitis, churchianity mindset. And the minute you start talking church, you just see the eyes glaze and oh no, zombies. I hate that. There's another way to put it. I'm sorry, you guys are programmed, and they have stolen the most beautiful truths from you. I was talking to a friend earlier with regards to the churches and the faiths and everything else. How many people know this story of going to spending time in church and then suddenly waking up and going, this is all wrong, and then of course everyone runs for the hills, away from it, and they leave behind the most perfect book that has now been tainted in their universe. And that's the Bible. I mean, it's a beautiful code book, right? Old Testament, how we got in this mess. New Testament, how we get out. It's an astrotheology, legal, biology, physics, you name it book. It has all of that in there if you have the eyes to see it. And it's when I see people glaze over, it's disheartening, but at the same time, you can see the power of the program. And you're absolutely right, Karen, when it comes to the churches. If these guys were actually living, what they were supposedly preaching, there would be no such thing as, trillions of dollars worth of inventory that the Vatican owns. That any church owns. And we talk about the separation of church and state. Well, that's because they want us to think that they're separate, but they're not. They're one and the same. And you need to actually grow up. And for the guys out there, you need to grow a pair, okay? Because I'll tell you, all you big strapping men that aren't doing anything, and I know there's lots of you that are, the true noble ones, but the ones that aren't doing anything, why don't you use me for a really good example in what I'm doing, and I'm only half the man you are. Fair?
Well, definitely men need to be protecting their families. And this morning I got an email. Now, I was raised Catholic. I left the church because I saw right off the bat that the inequality, that thinking that we were the only ones going to heaven, you got to be Catholic, you have to have the lay version of the Bible. My father was really into it. My father used to write the Pope to let him know when he was off base. So he must have been doing a lot of letter writing. But he was brainwashed as well. And so many Christians, I hear Christians talking all the time about how cool they are. They're going to save the world. And the Christians listening to me, I am not trying to offend you right now. What I'm trying to do is get you to maybe step back a little bit and take a breath and wonder about why certain of the beliefs within the Christian church are doing you a great disservice and doing our world a great disservice. And I had this email come to me today. Let's see, it says, part of it says, Catholics, Evangelicals, Presbyterians, Episcopals, Methodists, and other Christians may have slight differences among them on how to approach God Almighty and how He approaches us, but for the most part, we call ourselves Christian. This is a Christian nation, one nation under God, with liberty, justice, property rights, and freedom for all. So you atheists, communists, fellow travelers, progressives, Islamists, and other demonic tribes, please find another country to rape, pillage, and fundamentally change. If you leave now, deport yourselves, along with as many illegal aliens as you choose to subvert. Do it quietly, do not disturb us any further, or we shall make it very hard for you to leave at all. Many of you have wormed your way into city, county, state government, and about 500 of you and your higher staff members have wormed your way into the federal government. The gig's up, we know who you are. We'll take such measures as we find necessary to deworm our governments. Yada, 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 yada. Meanwhile, we Christians would go about our daily business of repairing our ravaged country, building toward full employment, finding the most qualified amongst our most Christian population, and rebuilding our government of God-fearing Christian citizens, yada, yada. And I just couldn't stomach it anymore, so this is what I sent out. If Jesus were alive today, do you think he would be going to church on Sunday and ignoring the murder of innocents paid for by his tax dollars stolen by government? Would Jesus ignore the drones, the police brutality, the military suicides, weather manipulation while betting on it in the background, the theft of property, the blatant sex push for our children? Would he live his life every day ignoring that those in power are stealing the daily bread from the people who happen to be manipulated by the system of government, control, judgment, death, destruction, and military madness? Would Jesus go to church on Sunday and kiss his sons and daughters goodbye as he sent them off to murder innocent people and come back as ruined people, discarded by the government they thought they were protecting? Would Jesus continue to ignore the abuse because he had a nice home, good job he was compartmentalized into, working for Raytheon, Monsanto, Halliburton, the IRS, CIA, FBI, or other alphabet gang? Would Jesus ignore bank closures and starvation? Would Jesus ignore pedophilia and listen to the lies of mainstream news owned by 5 companies who sought out profit over people? Would he label and judge others instead of do some homework and connect the dots in terms of history with at least 10 other older religions where a virgin birth, a savior of man, death, and rising from the dead were fully documented? Would he ignore the unholy marriage of politics and religion and condemn those not of his faith? Would he ignore the suffering of the children at the hands of the schools and Catholics and clergy? Or would Jesus refuse to participate and follow immoral orders, pulling out of the rot in order to remind us all that the abundance of this world belongs to all? Would he step out of his uniform and into his life, refusing to go to church while pedophiles reigned? Or sit in the pew quietly and pray it didn't happen to his children? What will you good Christians do?
Well said, Karen.
Well, there you have it, boys and girls. That is a serious chosenitis. I'm saved, everyone else goes to hell. Beautiful delivery. That's Karen Quinn-Tostado kicking a little bigot ass.
I'd like to add one for that, just for good measure. I mean, if we did crucify Christ, what the heck do you think you're doing, walking around with a cross on your neck? Isn't it like waving a rope at somebody you hanged in the past life?
That's interesting, yeah. And I like also to think that, you know, when we look at the crucifixion, and personally, I have serious doubts that Jesus even existed. However, when we look at the history, you know, and you think about morality and what he was teaching, well, you know, if those soldiers who crucified him had refused immoral orders, where would we be today?
Exactly, and that's the point. It's about morality, and you know, this Pope thing is absolutely ridiculous. Take a look at some of the stuff that's around him. I mean, oh boy, you know, he's sitting there with his scarf on with pictures of Satan on both sides. You know, on the back of his chair is an upside down inverted crucifix. He's walking around with a big stick with a replica of the pineal gland on it, which is your spiritual connection to God, controlling your God. I mean, the fish hat Pope, and, you know, the list is absolutely endless. There's probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different things I could point out as for all symbols, as for, you know, satanic worship in the whole place. I mean, it's ridiculous. People like that obviously haven't bothered to look. They haven't bothered to research. They haven't connected anywhere near enough dots to be able to connect it. They've just gone into a big house with a spike on the top and just, you know, flogged themselves. Oh, I'm a sinner and all this rubbish. I mean, oh God, it just makes you sick.
Yeah. one other thing I wanted to bring into this as well, because, well, I'm in a shit-kicking mood myself. When am I not? But when you're dealing with this whole it is a program. It's a beautifully run program. It's one where they get people to disempower themselves, thinking that someone or something is going to come out of somewhere to save them. And the truth is, you're here to save yourself. This is one of the reasons why I look at COINTELPRO operations like opt-in, we're going to save you. That whole it's another separation from self. And anytime I see that kind of stuff going on, where you can call it whatever you want, but to me it's still savior worship, and people, this is where, again, I go back to Corinthians, it's time to put away and put off the childish things and start looking at life from a new perspective, in that, everything that we tried to do in the past or tried to rationalize in the past doesn't work. So let's stop being insane and stop trying the same things over and over again, expecting a different result. The only change that's ever going to change this planet is when we decide to change ourselves, and to make that stand first and foremost, and decide that there are greater and bigger things afoot here than just yourself. And this is one of the reasons why so many of us have literally put ourselves in the firing line to bring light to this, for whatever motivation, I don't know. It's just, I couldn't stand back any longer. And I've always had this thing about when I have a resonance with the truth, I'm Irish. I get really loudmouth about it, and that's the way I'm built. It's just the way I'm a Gemini communicator, so it's like it's in my design, and that's really all it takes. And this is why we do these things, and to bring this information to people. And again, what we'll be talking about here is certainly not fear point. What we're dealing with here is the reality of how people have been duped, and how we can see it to step beyond it. And the answer, you'll only ever find the answer within yourself. And of course, as we come together collectively to share what we've found within ourselves, to see that it actually resonates with others that did the same thing and looked in themselves and said, wow, I found the same thing and I wasn't talking to anybody. Isn't that cool? That's synchronicity. That is consciousness working.
That's it. And that's what I'm hoping for, too, is to plant seeds for that aha moment. Now, I'm also looking in your chat room, and I see there's a comment there saying Christianity is not the problem, it's monotheism. And I would disagree. Christianity is a big part of the problem. Religions are a huge part of the problem, because religions seek to take your own divine connection, your own divine umbilical cord to the Creator, to all that is, and manipulate it and put it through their rigmarole. And if you really want to talk about Christianity, then look at the Sumerians, look at the Egyptians, look at the exact same story told over and over again, change the names to protect the innocent. Tony, you've done a lot of research on that, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah, zeitgeist and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Ahura Mazda, there's another one, Hare Krishna. We're talking 10, 15,000 years before this 2,000-year-old Judeo-Christian, fairy tale got manipulated. So
that's right. I mean, we were on QLTV last night saying exactly the same thing. It's pre-Aztec, Inca, Mayan, Sumerian, Egyptian. Do you know what I mean? It goes way back. We're in a loop. We're caught in this loop, and we go through it again and again and again until we actually get it. The same old religious religion, realign the masses against each other. So all of these religions are basically confusing people into conflict. Duality.
Yeah. Hey, Karen, to back you up on that, Santo said it so beautifully once. That's why I like using it, because it's pure truth. What we're dealing with here is you got to lose that whole concept of Christianity, because what they're teaching in the churches is not Christianity. They're teaching churchianity. They're teaching a religion where people that actually find the Christ aspect within themselves. You see, that's where everything went south. Churches teach to worship Christ. They put him on a cross and make him into an idol. In the Catholic faith, they the Holy Mary, Mother of God. Idol worship, pure and simple. And Jesus, and I'm of the same feeling of you. and so many others, that this actual being didn't walk the earth.
Well, I have.
It's an analogy, it's a metaphor, it's an allegory of these ancient truths brought forward. And
actually, you might be very interested in speaking with the creators of Caesar's Messiah. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah, I actually got one of the first copies before it came out. It was gifted to me.
I've had Joseph Atwell and Fritz and Miola, on with me, and they are they're very interesting. And when they talk about Jesus, and I watched the video and listened to the different interviews, and it's pretty that Jesus was actually a Flavian emperor's creation for power.
They took the script and ran with it. That's what they did.
And they went back 40 years. So they actually they made it retroactive so that they could turn him into a god. We don't even really hear the Flavians. We hear the Judeo-Christo line, the Judeo-Claudius line. But this whole thing with the sorry, my mind just went.
With the Flavians.
Yeah, the Flavians.
I'd just like to put another perspective on that. Have you not noticed how the elites favour bloodlines, how they intermarry, they keep all the same bloodlines together, etc.? Well, there's an element of the Merovingian bloodline going back. So in my research, I've actually come across, well, I'm not going to go into any detail, but the information that I've come across is basically that there was a guy that learned a lot of the hidden arts. Now, when I'm saying hidden arts, let's look at the Masons, right? Now, Kate, I sent you a video clip about above 33 magical energy manipulation. In other words, we've got DNA that's deactivated within our bodies, and some of these original bloodlines had the ability and the knowledge to reactivate some of that DNA. They knew how to manipulate energies, just like a hypnotist knows how to hypnotize. So there are some aspects to a certain bloodline having the abilities, because of they had access to hidden information, to do things that other people normally couldn't, and those were called miracles. Okay, so we do have the ability, as was said, all you have the same powers as I, in the Bible type thing. The point is, there was individuals back then who had more access to knowledge, power, and magical ability than there is anything like today. But those do reach back into ancient bloodlines. In other words, the Egyptian bloodlines, for example. So there is some evidence of us being able to perform miracles, I say us loosely, bloodlines or individuals, in the past. So, but what's actually happened is that information's been hijacked and turned into a religion. So the abilities are definitely there when you look into this in a great detail. But the Christ figure was basically, in my research, it's come to the point where it was somebody who could do some of this stuff because he'd been educated in the hidden arts, as it were. And that is because he was of royal lineage back then. It could be considered controversial, but you would need to look into all the different aspects, such as DNA that's been turned off, things like monatomics, nudge nudge. Also, secrets of how to manipulate the energies from within, which are indeed there. But, just putting all that together in a nutshell, there's some incredible stuff out there, guys. But as for this bloke, as for the Jesus typical figure, I would say it's more information that was twisted into a religion, but the capabilities are within us to reactivate that DNA. Well, that's my current understanding after flipping shed loads of research that I've been doing. So it's a mix of the two.
It's interesting, and I'm open to someone existing as well back then who was kind of, I know they had lots of different messiahs, and I definitely believe in miracles, and we are the instruments through which they flow. We have been cut off from that. We've been lied to for our entire history. Is nothing but lies written by the winners. I'm familiar also with the possibility that it is a single bloodline that was here from the time of Atlantis that moved to Egypt, that's continuing now. Whether or not it's reptilian or interdimensional, I don't know. But I do think that there definitely is something out there aside from us that has no empathy, that has seen that we as human beings have, unfortunately, a greater ability to follow than to think for ourselves. And that is a huge problem.
Exactly. Again, it goes back to giving away our own divinity and giving it up. And I've said it many times on the shows in the past. You know, what makes a powerful God? Well, one that convinces other gods that they're lesser than them. And that's effectively is what I see has happened. And they've got everyone in such a degraded state of being, you know, stuck in the physical meat stick realm to such a degree. Yeah, well, yeah, you know.
Physical meat stick realm.
Well, that's, you know, not to be derogatory of these beautiful galaxies we walk around in. You know, the universe is unto themselves. What I do that for is to show people that you're not the meat stick, you're the driver in it. So, you know, you're creating the universe around you. We have, you know, ultimate ability to change that. And I highly resonate with what Tony was saying and what you were saying, along the lines of, you know, certain bloodlines that have, you know, figured out how to activate more of their DNA to give them, say, a more far-reaching control in the ethereal or spiritual sense, and they're doing their damnedest to hide the knowledge. Look at all the books they took out of libraries at Alexandria before they burned it to the ground, and where did those books end up? You know, Rome and Venice, right? So, I mean, every trail leads to Rome. I mean, that's Rome rhymes with home, baby, and it's time to go and take back that knowledge that was always ours. It always belonged to humanity. And these very few that have taken it upon themselves to manipulate it, and I'm talking manipulating time and everything else that falls into this. This is a pretty wild and crazy place, boys and girls. But once you start seeing it and really just looking at it for what it is...
Well, we don't even really know what the date is.
I know.
You know? Was last year really 2012? Is this 2012? Is it 2015? I mean, they screw with the calendar. They screw with, you know, making us jump back an hour, making you jump forward. I mean, who really knows anything other than we're here now and we're in the middle of a huge mess that we have helped to create. I think it's why also we have to think about not only entertain whatever calls us in terms of how and why we got here, but we have to think about how to get out. We have to recognize where we are, and it's so important that we recognize quickly, because I believe in those miracles, and I believe that we can, once we focus, once we stop destroying the planet and allowing it to be destroyed on our dime, when we stop paying for it. It's why I talk about striking, you know, not marching, not picketing, but refusing to go along with it. April 15th is coming up. How many people here in America are going to be part of the parade volunteering to pay the IRS? Now, I'm not telling people not to pay the IRS.
No, I am.
I'm telling people. Well, you know, the reason I'm not is because, well, they take us down individually, and I'm trying to make United We Strike the easiest way to oppose, because when enough of us know we won't ever have to pay them, I'm not thinking that we're all going to have to pay them. I'm not thinking we need to pay any of this debt. What I'm thinking is millions and millions of well-prepared people with food, water, survival, protection gear. You bet your guns, you know, you need them for defense, not offense, not violence, but defense, which is the only time violence is actually moral. You have to do what you need to do to the extreme you need to do it in order to protect yourself and your family. So when we start to really understand it is our job, when you were talking earlier about the men, yeah, where are the men who will stand up to protect their family and to protect themselves? We so badly need to take the blinders off and step back and see where we are. And that's why I keep hoping 1/15th or even any other day, that spirit of Occupy that brought those people out in droves to camp out in the streets. But what happens when you do that, when you don't have a plan? You leave your home vulnerable, and your home, your life, should be more important than their lives. And it's time to step back collectively from the brink and to say, no, let's take a date for the people. We see how in Cyprus they're closing the banks. Some of those people who have been caught without money, who have children who are hungry, this is unconscionable. And yet we live every day like somebody else is going to save us, and that won't happen. But when we stand shoulder to shoulder, when we're prepared, on April 15th, what would the world look like if no one drove up to pay, if no one went to work, if no one went to banks, if no one flew in the airports so they can grope themselves? What would it look like if we stayed home because we realized all that we really truly needed was clean air, clean water, healthy food, self-sufficient neighborhoods, and love? We need to love ourselves enough to forgive ourselves for getting here and then get down to the business of cleaning up our world, which can happen much more quickly when we refuse to play their game by their rules, because it's a setup, it's a corporation, but corporations only run when the employees show up to do the dirty work. And when we quit...
Karen,
Hey,
I thought I recognized your name. I love your idea, and I applaud you for your effort. But I think that the people that are waking up, that really have a good understanding, we can't just do this for a day. It has to be, okay,
No.
I'm changing my entire life, and I'm walking away from this. I don't want anything to do with this anymore. Because
Agreed.
It's not,
Agreed.
Yeah, because it's not good for me.
Agreed.
See,
the 15th is just a monthly goal until people get it that deeply. And then, once we strike, we will never go back. We will only go forward. And those jobs that people think are so important now, and jobs that they hate, will disappear because they're not even needed. So all it is, when I say one day, and I understand how trite that sounds, it's a wake-up call. How much more can you be prepared next month? How many more people can you tell? How much more can you be totally fed up with the system so that you can say, that's it, I quit? And then when we quit, we can go local. When we starve the beast collectively at the federal level, we can go local. We know who they are in our own towns. And actually, we can ignore them while we rebuild, and then from the inside out.
Yeah, won't they be hungry with no paychecks?
I just had a conversation about an hour ago with a gentleman, and I brought up what's going on in Cyprus. And he's like, man, I just don't understand how they can do that. And I said, dude, you need to go read the contract that you signed when you opened up your bank account. I said, they can do that here in the United States too. And he goes, what? And I go, yeah. I go, it's right in your contract. They can empty your account whenever they want to. It's not your money, it's theirs.
It's not even your account, Jim, and we've talked about this.
Yeah, well,
times,
no,
you know?
Exactly. And he looked at me and he says, oh, that would never happen here. And I said, are you kidding me? Are you that blind? Are you really that blind? I go, if it's in the contract, why do you think it's in the contract?
Oh, Jim, the program runs deep and heavy, especially in North America. They railed us the hardest here. So I mean, for me, that's it's flogging a dead horse. What's happened with Cyprus, or I'm resonating with Cygnus. That was the swan song. That's the swan trumpeting. The final end of Jericho. The whore of Babylon is coming down, and it can't come down.
Oh no, I agree. I agree because that signal that they're sending right now, that trumpet signal,
It's our swan song.
All of Europe's gonna, and they're gonna go empty their accounts.
It's going to be domino. Italy, Spain is next. Ireland, all the big countries are next. I just wanted to mention we do have another caller in here as well. Karen, I hope you don't mind that we're.
No, I just was thinking, let's see, that doesn't sound like Kate. It doesn't sound like Tony. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim. Area code 518. Your mic is hot. You have questions or comments? You just want to jump in the fray and go for it? Or are you just listening?
I'm just listening.
There you are. Go.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm just listening.
Oh, okay, just listen, so I'll put you back on hold. All right.
Okay.
Hey, listen. Listening and taking part doesn't matter. You're still taking part, right? You've made the choice to, you're tuned in.
And Jim, I do want to say that the ultimate goal is not one day. It is a complete walking away from the corruption. It's finally when people understand that every area of their lives has been tainted and touched, that their parents, their grandparents, their entire family history has been screwed by these evil, lying, inbred, traitorous eugenicists who call themselves elite. And the fact that they have forced us into taking jobs that we absolutely hate in order to play their game by their rules. And it's time to tell them to go frack themselves, pick up our things, and get off their grid.
We've got to stop.
Well, hey, Karen, I'm really happy. Go ahead, Kate.
No, I was going to say, Tony was talking there, so just leave a little pause, because when we're on Skype here, you guys have the jump on us, because we're dealing radio communications versus direct with phone lines. So go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I was just saying it's time to stop acquiescing to the system. Do you see what I'm saying? This is the point. There comes a time we've got to say enough's enough. And that's it. I'm not going to cooperate. In fact, I'm going to be a pain in the arse until they leave me the fuck alone. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? We've got, people stopping paying taxes. Why are they stopping paying taxes? Well, because they're contributing to a terrorist organisation. The payment of the taxes, buying the bombs, the bullets, and the war machine to go and blow the shit out of actual innocent people in Iraq and other countries. It's just the way it is. You're paying for that shit. You're paying for the military and the bullets and the firearms and the armies and all that. It's obvious. It's just time to realise what the hell's been going on and stop acquiescing to it.
Mm-hmm. And Karen, that tsunami that you're referring to of the United We Stand front, absolutely. And the joy of it is... United We Strike, United We Stand, United We Scream at the top of our lungs. And that's what's happening. This tsunami, I'm witnessing it every day on a very, very open public... that's why I make myself accessible. I need to see what's going on in this world. And boy, I have to tell you, the outpouring that I've seen over the last couple of weeks alone has had me overwhelmed to the point of tears so many times in a day. It is just mind-blowing. And it is beautiful to behold. And when I say tuned in, I mean that in more layers than one. You're tuned into the show because you're tuned in to the consciousness, and that's what brings people together. That's what's bringing every one of the listeners and everyone that's in this call right now. That's what's bringing us collectively together. Is we're vibrating at that same. We've had enough frequency, and this tsunami that you're speaking of the United We Strike, is fast approaching. It's already here. So I'm excited. This is some beautiful stuff happening right now.
Well, I hope
Karen,
so. I've been planting seeds 5 years. Go ahead, Jim.
Karen, I just wanted to comment because I've heard you being interviewed on various programs on Republic Broadcasting and other stations, and I appreciated what you're doing, but I was going, one day's not enough. One day's not enough. One day's not enough. And now I got you. Now I'm listening to you now, and now you're speaking what we're speaking, and you're saying, no, that's just a one-day thing, but the idea is to turn away completely, and I love that you're there. I love that.
I've always been there. I just wasn't able to maybe get the point across enough, but the reason that it's monthly is because I learned the hard way, and this is going on now 5 years of doing this. I'm getting it down, or trying to get it down to a part-time non-paying job, then a full-time non-paying job, and to be back and living my life. But I never meant for it simply to be one day, but even one day, if millions and millions and millions of people, and not only here in the United States, because this is global. In my opinion, we are striking now to support the Cypriots. We should have been striking to support the ongoing Gulf BP disaster, the people there against BP. None of them should have been going to work. We should have been striking and saying, frack you government, I'm not working until you take care of Fukushima. I'm not working anymore until you declare an immediate ceasefire and send all troops home to their countries to help rebuild. I refuse to work until no more chemtrailing toxins are dumped in my sky. I refuse to work until Monsanto is put out of business that they're doing now and put into the business of reversing their crimes. I refuse to work while pedophiles are in the Catholic Church. Where's Benny Brett? I mean, it's just crazy. We all have so many reasons. How about I refuse to work when I know that 1 out of every 4 homeless people on the street is a veteran who's been chewed up and spit out by the system? I refuse to work because I'm so sick and tired of everything that I hear. Do we need another reason? Do we really need another reason? I mean, come on.
No, we don't. No, we don't. What you're speaking is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and you are. I'm glad you're on this call. Kate, good job. This is totally awesome because and Karen, I'll just ask this of you. If you get on any more shows, this is the way you need to talk. I'm telling you, because this is the way that we have to wake the people up and just say, how many more excuses do we need? How many more reasons do we need? We already have enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, can I be a little less gentle here for a sec, Tone? Now let you go. You that are paying taxes that are going to yield to this fictitious nonsense on the 15th of April, you are guilty of the next child that gets killed. That's yours. I don't murder children anymore. I don't make it possible. I don't
pay people to allow it to happen. This is the point.
Right.
I mean,
I want
to. They're acquiescing. I mean, if they're willing to do that, then they're agreeing that hey, it's okay if this government that supposedly represents me goes over there and kills people, innocent people. You now know, you've heard it, it's in your ears, so if you acquiesce, Kate's exactly right.
And I do want to say this in regards to that. I come at things very, very, very passionately and very intensely, you see, because I'm not gentle with the truth. I made a decision a long time ago to not be gentle with the truth, because I'll tell you, when I was raped, he wasn't gentle with me. So I put that same intensity into that, and this is where we need to send people. And I know many of you out there listening can't just simply do that because it's not in your reality just yet, but the accountability is still there. And the willingness to make a move towards getting away from it is your salvation. That is your intent to move away from it. And all we need to do is unite the intent. This consciousness will awaken overnight. And so there is a grace there, but it is very small, it is very short, and it's not very forgiving. So be mindful.
Well,
this is really
Jim,
go ahead.
I want to thank you, and I have a program every Friday night called Karen's Corner. It's on Rents. It's part of Wide Awake News with Charlie McGrath, and I do try and get more of this out. And actually what I would like to do as well is, who I really am in my heart is an artist, is a singer. I am not the best singer in the world, but I feel more like I'm a messenger. And my earliest recollection of singing was when I was 3 years old, singing Christmas carols with my mother. But then again, when my mother was pregnant with me, she was in a female group called the Larriettes that was put together by her sister, and she played a stand-up bass and could kind of feel me moving around. And earlier, when we talked about do we really need any more reasons, what I would like to do is to begin, I never learned to play an instrument. My bad. I just didn't have the patience. I wanted to sing.
You, Karen, I'll back you any day of the week, and I'm so glad you're going here. Carry on. Thank you.
Well, this is... this gets back then to it's just maybe a musical message, you know, and I'm Irish too, so maybe some of my Celtic roots or something are in there. But this set of lyrics kind of came through me that talks exactly about, you know, do we really need any more reasons? So if you'll put up with me here for a second, I'll close my eyes and all right. Now, again, it's the message, and maybe if you would, and you're listening, just kind of take a breath as well and close your eyes and hear the words. You know, it's not the voice, it's nothing other than the message that I'm trying to get across. And let's hope I remember the words. Do we really need another reason? Do we want to hear another excuse? Why do we allow this warring season? Why do we pay for our own abuse? Do we really need more death and destruction? Do we want to hear a new pack of lies? When will we break through this false construction? When will we wake up and realize? Don't buy, don't comply, ask why. Don't buy, don't comply, ask why, live and die, learning to justify those I'm taught to crucify for a lie. Ask why, ask why. Ask why. Ask why.
You and me are going to get together, kid.
No, that was awesome, man. That was awesome. You know what that reminded me of? You know, and this, and this is not a criticism, but it reminded me of the songs that the slaves sang in the fields. That's
Well,
what it kind of sounded like. I was like feeling this deal going. I'm seeing slaves in the field all singing together, you know, about their toil and the turmoil that they were in. That was incredible. Thanks, Karen.
Well, thank you. And it was interesting too because it kind of wrote me in stages. And when it turned out to be the slogan of "Don't buy, don't comply, ask why," I thought, well, that's pretty good.
Works for me.
So, thank you.
I hear it in the key of A minor where you were singing it, and it's got a kind of that bluesy beat that Jim was referring to, and there's something else in there too. It's got just a little flair to it. It's a hand push, and we'll sit together on Skype, and we're gonna get some music behind this, and I'll fire it over to you.
Cool. Well, yeah, I can sing it like that and send it to you. We can see what happens. Hear any in the world of cyberspace.
Oh yeah. Well, again, on Skype, you can. What I need to work with you is just to find your key. And
that's it.
That's it. And no, your pitch is awesome. So that won't be an issue. Promise.
Well, there used to be a joke that I learned about. How do you tell when a female vocalist is at the door?
Oh, she's. I know this one too. Doesn't know the key. She can't find the key. She can't find the key. And what's the other part of it?
And doesn't know when to come in.
When to come in. That's right. Got it. Yeah, I've been guilty of that a few times.
I was in the beginning, but I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of bands. Well, not a lot of bands, but enough in the past, and
enough to know I can work with you.
Well, I had fun, and I've got. It's nice now too to start bringing that out, because who knows how much time we're going to have, and we do need to do what we love, and if this is a way to help get through to people's hearts, I'll just do what I can, and it's fun for me. It helps me to get the message out without sometimes sounding just so shrill and angry, because I know that this past 5 years there have been many times when that's how I've come across, because it has been frustrating to me to see what's going on and to understand all these good people who are compartmentalized and working against their own best interests and still just don't get it,
Yeah, and none more so than frontline cops and all these, armed tax collectors. You can call them what you want, law enforcement, whatever. And if they could just realize they are the most enslaved of all, duped into thinking they're the most powerful. And I have to say this to all North Americans in particular, UK and Australia, any of the, quote, westernized world. The simple fact that you think you're free, that you go around preaching, democracy. Sorry, guys, that's one step back from a republic, and we need to move on to anarchy here.
There you go.
That's a beautiful, beautiful ploy. None are more enslaved than those that think they're free.
That's it.
So
that was Geth. Geth said that.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. I just learned something.
Goethe.
Oh, then a good idea carries through the ether very well, then, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, that was. I think it was William. Was it William Geth? Something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I haven't really studied much up on it, but there you go. There's the consciousness. There's the Akashic. That's. Yeah, never knew the quote, but something that always resonated with me. So there you go. I love it. See, there's nothing new under the sun. There's not one original idea out there. We've already done it all, guys. It's time to remember.
Yeah, I think
that's it.
I think it says none are more enslaved than those who think they are free but are not.
I think it's none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who believe they are free.
Oh,
right.
There you go.
There you go.
All works for me, guys. And Tony, where are you?
Yeah, I was just listening to this beautiful conversation we've got tonight.
Yeah, I know. We talked about Tony's chart last night, and Santo, going through it, said to him that he's a great listener. So I'm trying to break that Taurian quality. Well, what was it? Your moon in Sagittarius makes you fiery. So let's light you up a little bit.
Well, I get lit up from one point to the next. I like to wait until there's something I really want to say, and it's important for people to know. And and I need to try and factor that in with the flavour of the conversation, because there's so many topics, so many different areas where we could go. I can literally, go in all these different directions, but I don't want to derail any particular subject. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm carefully trying to factor in with what where I've got something beneficial to add.
Well, I know that you do, and I want you going off in your Sagittarian moon fire for a second on this one about manifestation and how important it is to keep things in the positive mindset as we create exponentially right now.
Well, I mean, you just said it, really. You just got to look on the bright side. Again, if you think you've got problems, people, what we need to realise is the problems have been manufactured. Therefore, the problems have been created. we've already got the answers. The question is, are you aware that we've got the answers? Is that a good enough key answer for you, Kate?
Yeah, I love you. Yeah, that's right.
That's the point, you know.
No, that's straight to the point. And that's exactly what needs to be said, and that's what we're gearing up here today. Because really, you know, we can talk about any show being about human trafficking, but the truth is, every show that we talk in this paradigm is about human trafficking. Just some more dastardly forms than others. But the simple fact is, you know, if you have a mark of the beast, you are a slave to the whore of Babylon. And I could make it really pretty, but I put away my delicate paintbrushes a long time ago, and I just carry paint rollers now to paint the biggest.
It's all about theft.
Yeah, exactly. So let's change the planet, shall we? Because only you can. How it works.
That's it. Well, you know, I actually have a new set of lyrics that wrote me the other day. I don't have a melody for them, but kind of fits into our conversation, if you'd allow me to share.
Oh, Karen, this is your show, baby. We're just a mouthpiece that push buttons. So when the guests are on, it's your show. You rock and roll, play.
Oh, wow.
Well, I think this would be good if it were made into a song. I have tons of lyrics over the years. I look back, a lot of stuff I've lost, but I've got a nice notebook here that I've got things from 2004. That first poem that I read was back from 2004. And this was just on Sunday. The title of this one is called, Is This Our Legacy? What if we were dreaming, programmed from the start through lies and endless scheming to keep us from our heart? What if our best knowing, granted us through birth, was stolen through our growing, robbing us of worth? What if the dream became the nightmare when we opened up our eyes, a war-torn, ugly frightmare? Would we not then realize that all of this huge pack of lies only works when we do, yet we're compartmentalized and haven't got a clue? What if we could take a break and step back from the cliff? What if, for our children's sake, we gave the truth a whiff? Our earth and skies are crying for us to stop the plunder. Our sons and daughters dying, and all are going under. The choice of how to live and die belongs to you and me. Listen to our children cry. Is this their legacy? What if we could be as strong as the hero in our heart? And what we've wanted all along is just a brand new start. The 15th is coming. Let it be the day we step back together, yet do it our own way. For all of our lives are worth more than their lives. Become your own hero. The time has arrived when Earth and every one of us must decide to think on our own, yet stand fast as one, declaring the time of our freedom begun. So let the great spirit of life within all sing in our hearts, and let's heed its call.
Works for me.
You've got to put that to music. You have to.
Yeah, I'm sitting here just fighting to not pick up my guitar tonight. Now, your show you do on Friday nights, in the true spirit of sharing and giving, this is how we unite our platforms, because we're all singing the same song, as it were. Can you share the information of where you are on Friday nights, please?
Well, you can get it by going to wideawakenews.com. I'm part of Charlie McGrath's the Wide Awake News team, and I'm on every Friday from 5 p.m. Pacific until 7, or 8 till 10 Eastern, and I think it's 1 GMT. Is that right, Tony, or is 5 p.m. Pacific a different GMT time now?
Well, right now we're Eastern Standard's running 4 hours behind GMT. They move ahead an hour on the 31st, so your guess is as good as mine. Fair?
No idea.
Well, Tony, are you over there now? It's 6:18 in Pacific time now. Where are you?
1:18 in the morning, AM.
Okay.
Yeah, I
so
think.
That's 7 hours.
Yeah, and it's gonna go back to 8 on the 31st. because we all jumped ahead an hour here in North America, but the UK didn't. They were a full month. I know, because it's been pissing me off trying to schedule shows.
Man, you talk about OSMs, which are those oh shit moments when you're on air usually.
Well, normally we do our show from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's prime time here. And because of the shift in the clock for the last 3 weeks, we've been running 8 to 10 Eastern Standard, because I have to book the show through United Kingdom, Greenwich Mean Time. That's where our platform is with Critical Mass Radio. So it's been fun.
Well, I think it was 2 years ago when we were doing the marathons, which are going on their fourth year in August. No, they'll be going on the fifth year in August. Anyway, I'm setting all these things up with people from all over the world, and I totally forgot about the time change, and it happened on the day of the marathon. And you talk about OSMs and being screwed up while you're on air. That was a challenging day.
No doubt. Yeah, it's always a panic. It's like the other day there. I've been getting to sleep lately around 6:30 in the morning. Not for lack of trying. And I think it was yesterday I woke up at 10 o'clock, and my first glance at the clock, it looked like 2:14, and I went, oh no, it's like, where's my day gone, right? And then I get up and I'm like panic, go and put the kettle on quick, and then I look at the clock and it was 5 after 10. I'm thinking, so I maybe only been asleep for about 3 hours, but I woke up in an absolute, what do you call them? OSMs? Oh shit moments?
That's it.
Oh yeah, well there's more like an OFM, so we'll let people figure that out for themselves.
That's a good one. I'm going to have to start using OFM now.
Yeah, well, if people ever see my term BFT, it's my
What's
way of...
the T?
Time.
Okay, that's me.
About in time. So if you ever see that, that's kind of my own little personal thing that I use.
Karen, what was that link to your show?
I'm on wideawakenews.com, and you can also get information and the guest list by going to unitedwestrike.com, and I have a page there called Karen's Corner. That's the name of the program, so that'll tell you who's coming up. This Friday I have Dinah Everett Snyder, who has done exemplary work with veterans and PTSD. If you don't know her yet, I will be happy to turn you on to her, because she's saving lives, she's saving families, she's saving hearts and minds.
I know who you need to get on your show.
Well, we can switch guests, it's great to do that.
No, absolutely. No, this is, and I know she's chomping at the bit right now. Oh, pick me. Because I know she's tuned in right now. Laura Ann Wooldridge, or as she likes it in English, Laura Ann Wooldridge. She's heavily into the opiate aspect of reopening the Kundalini and PTSD and all. It'll melt your mind when you talk to her, I promise.
Well, tell her to tune in on Friday. We're also having Sherry Edwards from SoundHealthOptions.com, and she's done great work in terms of 21st century healing and sound and energy. I mean, when you realize we're all sound and energy and vibration, certain sounds really are capable of a healing. There's so much to really look forward to when we take off the blinders and stop following around other people's orders and living our lives for lies, when we step out of that, which hopefully that's another reason on the 15th, just stop, step back from the precipice. And when we do it together, I believe that Occupy Spirit aha moment can happen. And all of a sudden it can be, you're right, I've got my food, I've got my water, I hate my job. I'm going to see what I can do with my family, because they're the ones who are important. They're the ones who need protecting. And I'm also wondering why we can't, as individuals, seek political asylum from lawful sheriffs. Not only military, but why can't we? The FBI, the CIA, the IRS, the alphabet gangs, we don't need them. They're not anything to do with our lives. They're to do with the lies, with the control, with all of that. Last week I had Joe Bannister, Sherry Jackson Peel, or Sherry Peel Jackson, and Payman. We talked about the 15th and the rip of the IRS. And one of the things that Sherry Jackson said was that a lot of people who she knew it's vested self-interest. They're into making $100,000 a year and ignoring that little voice inside that's telling them that they're making their money off the backs and blood and bones and death of the people who they are stealing it from, because they don't have the courage to really look and try and find that law, and then to step out of a job that is doing moral harm to people.
Well, it's kind of funny that you brought that subject up, because I just put a letter out to an IRS agent. It's titled "Notice of Release of Garnishment."
Garnishment.
Because, well, I'm being garnished under a fraudulent levy, and so I just sent him a notice of release, and to send my boss a letter. So these people, I mean, they're just people, and they're just doing what they're being told to do, and they don't even, if we shower these people with these types of things, they're going to finally go, what am I doing?
Well, yeah, again, it's a paper jam, right? And anybody can do it. It's really easy, and you can use a regular envelope. You don't want to use stamps or anything else, so just put the return address to them, and mark in whatever you want where the address normally goes, and of course they return to sender. So you don't even need to waste a stamp.
No, but this is also where the people who are in these jobs really need to look in the mirror. They need to look at their families, and they need to look in the mirror. And I'm getting to the point also where, people used to ask me, well, why should I strike? What do you think what do I have to strike about? Well, I'm starting to take the attitude or the baditude of, what don't you have to strike about? What's going so well in your life that the government has to do with that you don't need to resist? Where haven't they screwed you?
It's like your energy bills. I mean, we've got free energy. We shouldn't be paying bills that, we could be having free energy. It's called fraud, for example. And there's loads of them. We're being screwed over left, right and centre. If we've got free energy, why should we be paying fucking energy bills? Gas bills, electricity bills, It's everywhere.
And they keep trying to drill for oil while they hide the technology that they've had. I mean, come on, Nikola Tesla was into wireless technology back in the late 1800s, before 1900. Look at when and I'm 60 now. When I was growing up, we watched the Jetsons. Well, what happened to all that technology we should be having right now?
That's the point, isn't it?
Karen, I mean, it's because of the training. I mean, because what have we been taught over our entire lives? One thing for sure is death and taxes.
Yeah,
and you can't fight City Hall.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been shoved down our throats.
Yeah.
And that's where everybody's mindset is, and those people are being awakened, and they're realizing that, who the heck is City Hall?
Well, they also teach us, when we grow up, they say, don't talk about politics or religion. Well, then how are you going to learn about it if you can't have a civil conversation without accusing somebody of being a heathen,
And how are you going to change it?
I am so glad. I am so glad you said that, Karen, because about 4 years ago, that was one of my mantras. Is I would just say, we're told not to talk about politics or religion, and I said, no, that's exactly what we need to be talking about.
Well, this is the point, but we need to talk about it from the stance of the truth. Like you were just talking about the Jetsons. We had this technology back then. It's encoded into Masonic architecture. They knew the secrets that they've been keeping back from the human race deliberately into, number one, to drive the human race into poverty, and number two, to impose all of these constructs like religion, like the monetary system, financial system, political system, the monarchy, the crown. All of this stuff has been imposed. All of the problems have been put on to the people. whereby we had the technology way back when to travel the stars. How did we build the pyramids? Well, we don't know. Well, why don't we know? Why don't we know? Well, because they've hidden the true technology and the true technological level of mankind, which allowed the building of the pyramids in the first place. There's crashed craft. We were talking about this last night. There's crashed craft all over the world. There's crash retrieval parties they're coming in from outside our sort of like local atmosphere to collect and deal with all these crash craft that are coming down. The stuff has been here for thousands and thousands, maybe millions. I mean, come on, guys, the Earth is billions of years old. There's been previous civilizations here before we were. What this whole thing is to allow the human race finally to come to full consciousness. And thank God we're getting there now. We're starting to realize we've been well and truly screwed over, and we want the truth. And that's what it's about. That's where we've got to start. It's all right talking about politics, and it's all right talking about energy, it's all right talking about physics, it's all right talking about the political system. Basically, you need to start with the truth. And if you can't start with the truth, we're not going to get anywhere. And that's what we need to do. We need to look at the truth of the situation. What is politics? It's a construct. What is money? It's another construct. What is religion? It's a further construct. What is the legal system? It's another construct. Right, now we're getting there. Now we can start to talk about the truth.
Yes, I think it's very important that we learn to talk about the truth. I was looking at some other notes that I had that talk about the ancient Greek scholars who understood the keys to human influence and call them ethos, pathos, and logos. And ethos is to be trustworthy, to conduct ourselves in a manner which builds trust, to be true to what we know instinctively is right. And ethos, to be moral, to have moral character. And pathos, to seek to understand, to truly to be able to see things from the other side, to step into their moccasins.
Absolutely.
To really, and to logos, to understand, to be clear about our intentions within the intention of being the best possible solution for all. For things to change, we have to change. And so I would encourage our listeners also, when you know about pedophilia and child abuse, when you know about the banks who have profit over everything, closing the bank in Cyprus, stealing people's money, well, my question to you is, how will you become trustworthy if you see it and remain silent? And what other bad habits will be fostered within you while you're looking the other way, trying to ignore all the malfeasance? And I think this touches on some of our big health issues. I think a lot of the reasons why we have so many people who are so unhealthy is not only because the food is poisoned, the air is poisoned, the water is poisoned, the soft drinks are poisoned, but because they're also refusing to honor that voice inside of them that is telling them that something is wrong,
Exactly.
Deeply, greatly wrong.
It's a reflection of the outside world. What we're doing to the outside world is being done to us, as above, so below, as within, without. And they know this, which is why they've steered everybody into this corral position of lockdown. And it's been done deliberately. Again, it's yet another example. This is why all of this is being done. Because, we can only thrive in an environment that allows for growth and expansion. If they pollute and contaminate the environment, we pollute and contaminate ourselves in the process. We're part of this earth. We're part of creation. It's incredible. This stuff is extremely deep, but it's the most important stuff that we could possibly be talking about. It's the liberation of the human race. We need to face up to the problems and what's actually gone on before we can actually fix anything about it. And that's number one.
And that goes right back, hey Tony, and you're absolutely right. And it goes right back to the individual choice of free will. Are you going to be party to the solution or party to the problemish, the problem? Are you for destroying, the very planet that we live on to chase after those fictitious fiat debt notes to our own detriment? As Tony said, as within, so without. The mirror image of our own true illness within ourselves is mirrored completely on the earth on which we live. How many more thousands of acres of the planet's lungs, known as the Amazon forest, are we going to take down so that cattle ranchers can raise more cattle for the continued, as I like to call it, death eating, where you get to eat and you get nothing out of it. The pain and death that these animals have to suffer. All you have to do is listen to 5 minutes of Santo go on in this one, and guaranteed you won't touch another scrap of meat. The whole idea of eating flesh now completely turns my stomach to a degree that I can't even describe. And I'll tell you, a lot of my own awakening came in that choice alone, because I wasn't poisoning myself with the fear that was ingrained in the energy of that living sentient being that only had an urge to live and found its demise about 10 or 15 down the row as it watched its kindred in front of it getting a bolt shoved into its head where it necessarily might not have been dead before they stripped it. Same thing with chickens and what have you. It doesn't matter. If you want a good video to watch, it's I think about 4 minutes long. All you have to do is go to YouTube and type in "man," and it's a little cartoon. And the opening scene was enough for me to tell me exactly where our problems lie. Where man, the all great conqueror, sees a delicate little bug and just jumps up 2 feet, crushes it, and goes, "Yeah," I have no words left. I have nothing.
Earthlings is an incredible video if somebody wants to really look into this. It's all about the frequency of fear. This is the point, because what that animal goes through instills fear. There's massive adrenal release into the blood, and the meat is literally frequency bathed in fear and anguish and pain and negativity, so that when we eat that meat, we take on that animal's feelings as it was when it died. Everything's harmonics again, guys, but they know that. This is why we've been trained to actually kill animals and eat them, because they want us in fear. You
are what you eat.
Pardon?
You are what you eat, and you wonder why the people are walking in herds. They treat us that way with the big box stores and walking us down chutes. You might as well call them chutes. They're not shopping aisles. They're chutes for the cattle. And the fear that's contained within them, it's pure energy. And I don't want to focus on this because I know there's a lot of people out there that are, well, I really like my hamburger. Yeah, well, great, I'm glad to hear it. And don't come to me if you have fear in handling some little issues, because you've been eating it for so long. And only when we start purging that fear out of us. Listen to Karen Ann McDonald the other night. I mean, the waste that is still trapped in your body, which you can clean out. And I had an amazing awakening using just sodium bicarbonate, and water, a couple of tablespoons a day, and just with that, flushing out of the old poisons, was awakening unto itself. And people wonder where this information came from. Well, it came fast and furious, because a lot of the download obstructions that were trapped in my own DNA were removed.
What did you do? Baking soda?
Just baking soda, a couple of tablespoons in water, and did that every day. And I give people warning, after about 2 days of that, your body goes into overdrive, and it's like you're sandblasting your your intestines. Trust me, it's you'll know.
Well, how much?
Yeah, exactly.
I would do a couple of tablespoons. I did that for about a 2-week period, and your body tells you when. And again, you go back into a regular regimen of maybe a teaspoon or so a day just to keep your alkalinity up. But boy, oh boy, spend a bit of time. You can actually get Karen Ann McDonald, her Facebook page, lots of information there. Just Karen Ann McDonald. And there's so much information out there for people, for solutions. And as soon as you start healing yourself, the as within starts to become the as without, and it's amazing.
This is what I was saying as well. This is what I was saying about essential oils. We don't need medications. We just use essential oils. The power of essential oils is incredible. I mean, Okay, let's refer back to gold, frankincense, and myrrh again. What they were talking about was oils and monatomics. I mean, if we only knew what our body needed, we could reactivate this DNA, and this is what this is all about. Oils are just so powerful; they just go straight through the blood-brain barrier, and electrolytes as well for depression. And there's so many more things that if we just look into a little bit of all about nutrients and medicine, you find so much stuff, and you can deal with practically anything. God gave you an immune system, right? As Dr. Carey puts it, basically your immune system is built to handle anything that can be thrown at it, pretty much, on a viral level, as it were. But yeah, vitamins, minerals, nutrients, etc., clean water and clean foods. That's all we really need. And that's why they're busy polluting the shit out of everything and making everything that makes you healthy illegal under Codex Alimentarius. Again, if you don't know, it's because you haven't looked. But yeah, put good stuff in, you get good results.
Essential oils are awesome, and if people do want to hear more about carnism, which is what Mark Passio calls it, on his website, whatonearthishappening.com, he's got incredible talks on that and how we are being farmed. We are still just because of our lack of compassion for the huge horror of these factory farms and the way that they raise the animals, where the animals have no life whatsoever. They're just treated as things, and it's easy to find. I would encourage people to check out whatonearthishappening.com. And for myself, I struggle with it, although the products that we buy, when we get meat, we buy it locally here from animals who actually did have a life. And we've cut back a great deal on that. But it's an interesting journey. Essential oils, though, are awesome. We've got some of those as well.
Yeah, truly. There's a lot of things people can do as well, such as blessing the meat before you eat it and the soul of the animal. It might just be simple things like that, but the more intention and more energy and emotion you put into that act can change the vibratory frequency of the actual meat as well. You're God, you've got to decide what you think you can do and what you think you can't. But the fact of the matter is, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Well, I'm good with not bothering with any of it, and that includes killing insects as well. I'm glad you mentioned Mark Passio. There's something I love bringing to light that's one of Mark Passio's sayings. Anytime he comes across someone that just looks at him and says, well, I don't believe that, and he just turns around and very, very quickly, just as quickly says, truth does not require your belief. And there's something that people should probably have a pondering on. Truth doesn't require your belief. It simply is. It's only ignorance that will miss it. So there's the problem. And guess what? There it is again. It all lies within. And I take a great deal of pride in knowing that I've probably been wrong more times than most people on this planet. And in the act of being willing to be wrong, gosh darn, I found some truth. Cool. Neat. Just saying.
All right, I think you've got some callers. It looks like in the chat room that we've got some callers.
I have one, area code 214, and Nick didn't want to come on. That was the 518, but area code 214. What do you got?
Well, hello there.
Your mic's been hot, so. Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't want to butt in.
Oh, no, okay, here's the rule for our shows, okay? As soon as you show up on the board, Kate's running the board, your mic's hot. Feel free, jump in. Don't wait for an invite because you showed up. It's your show.
Is that Lark? This is Lark. How are you?
Hey, I'm glad you called in. Go for it, dude.
Well,
Hi, Lark.
Hi, Karen. I was naturally enjoying the conversation. I want to say, unfortunately, we live in a world where the society has been organized via central planning. in a hierarchical control grid. And, I'm soon to be 59 years old, and it took me a long time to finally figure it out, what was wrong with the society at large. And, of course, it begins with the grave socialization and indoctrination we all receive via big media, via the public schools, even the colleges and universities today, as I think everyone on this call knows. But I wanted to bring forward a word that very few are aware of, or employ at least in everyday use, and I rather think it should be. We've heard of the words evolution and also devolution, even revolution. But too few of us are familiar with this word involution, which is to look within. We may look before we leap. And I just thought I'd put that word forward, and I do have information vis-a-vis what's termed, or what was termed in the 90s in the English-speaking world as outcomes-based education, if you guys would like to hear that.
The floor is yours. Go for it.
Well, of course, this was the terminology employed in the 90s for something that proved quite controversial in the States. And really, its principal feature, which is quite alarming, is that they no longer teach phonics in the school system anymore. What little phonics is presented is really just lip service. And there has been a steady socialization in the quote-unquote colonies since the very beginning. In the 1830s, in America, the founder of American public education was a Unitarian minister and a socialist named Horace Mann. And then we had this thing called the social gospel movement in America, which was a Protestant, more or less. But what this did was invite all kinds of traditions into one big tent, if you will. And it caused American Christians to, Protestant Christians in particular, to regard the so-called Lord's Prayer in a way that seemed to mean, according to their pastors and ministers and so forth, that we were all to become socialized as socialists. And what happened in America is that with the American Civil War, so-called, what we really actually had was a communist revolution. And this is borne out in articles such as, for instance, the American Push, P-U-T-S-C-H, America's Bolshevik Revolution, where you can begin the investigation of this. So what happened in 1871 is they formed a corporatist or fascist state within the corridor called the District of Columbia. And ever since, we've had 5 families from that time, with the Act of 1871, who have actually ruled over the territory known as the all caps United States. And then the Crown chartered an entity called the Fabian Society in 1884. And the prominent amongst them were people like Annie Besant, a student of Helena Blavatsky, and also H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells was a Freemason.
Yep.
And go ahead.
Yep. No, I was agreeing with you.
But so anyway, what the Fabian Society did on behalf of the Crown was devise a master strategy for how they would bring all of the colonies, that would be the entire world, estimation, into one central control under the aegis of the City of London.
The Crown.
And this war has been ongoing ever since. What we have today in the world is a system of socialist governance, it's management, which combines elements of corporatism or fascism with communism. Communism is a Judaic form of socialism. Fascism emanates from the time of ancient Rome. But today we call this type of governance, which undergirds the so-called New World Order, we call it communitarianism as a religio philosophy. And we call it community or communitarian law in a legal sense. Today, the International Court of Justice at The Hague is operating under community law, as is the United States Supreme Court, and as well as most of the courts in the world, because what they did was combine case law from the former communist and socialist countries and then integrated them with the case law of the formerly capitalist countries. So the so-called father of secular humanism is a man named Paul Kurtz, K-U-R-T-Z, an American Jew, passed away just a few months ago. It is his philosophy, as well as that of Thomas Paine, a famous deist during the Age of Enlightenment, famous pamphleteer, propagandist.
Yeah, magician.
Whose words are borrowed from to create the so-called Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And what needs to be understood is that the good things about Christianity, and frankly even of Judaism, as I noted in the chat room, that being the golden rule, or variants thereof, is precisely what is being bred out of us. It's being bred out of us because they do not want critical thought. They do not want us attached to our instinct, our intuition, or to, of course, critical thinking, because in a slave society, they don't want anybody who is a nonconformist. They want people to go along just to get along. And this is also termed Marxian political correctness. So shows like this, or instances like this evening, when we can get together and we can talk honestly and forthright with one another, is so critical. Because this is what is going to awaken all of us eventually. Because I think people are attracted to honesty, no matter who they are.
I was going to say I can't argue that, and apparently the people we get on and what we're trying to do here is resonating with a lot of folks, and I'll tell you, it's resonating with someone else that just showed up, and I'm not surprised. Karen, meet Karen. Karen Ann McDonald is in the call now, so we got about 7 minutes left, so I had to bring her in.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, how are you guys doing? We're going live?
Yeah, we're live. Go for it. Go for it, Karen Squared. You got about 6 minutes on air. We can roll past, no problem.
Oh my gosh, we got the hot mic out of Prince Albert just on the North Saskatchewan up here. Oh my gosh. Hi, how are you guys? It's taken me about 10 minutes to get through.
There you go. You're here now.
Yeah, it was interesting just catching the last few minutes here. So, yeah. You know, it was neat about what we're talking about, oils and stuff too, and some of the other different things going. But I think that's really important that at this point people start concentrating on what we can do within our communities, right? And getting ourselves healthy. It's really not so much about what's going out there, but getting ourselves into an inner cleanse and putting our things into place. So I think that's what we're doing from an international point of view as international clan mothers and women, in that collectively. So everyone's coming at it from their own different perspective, but international law is international law that supersedes any of the second world de facto corpus juris secundum. So a lot of this stuff that people have been doing really has been somewhat, in a way, futile, but we are getting a mass awakening, and it is starting to help quite a bit. So again, want to thank everyone for being out there and with the support. And that's what we have to do, is these things freely and benevolently. And the international law that all 13 nations with the 6 treaties on this planet and internationally off the Star Nations is that we do it commerce-free, and we practice universal law for the benevolence of everyone, and that we speak freely and do that also. If that's how you guys are happy, we're going to do it commerce-free and just go back into community contribution and do our gifting best to best for everyone. How's that?
That works for me. That sounds like a good solution to wrap up around. What do you say, Karen?
I say that sounds like a very good idea as well. We definitely need to understand that things only have value because we agree to give them value. And they used talking sticks, or not talking sticks, they used just sticks back in Europe for a while as measures of debt. We really do need to get over this fact of thinking that these little green pieces of paper and legal economic conquest with laws are something that we need to tie our bodies and our spirits to.
Well, and that's something, too, actually, as a clan mother, we technically overstand and oversee those laws. We don't understand anything. And I think that's an important thing, that people have to get rid of the value. Everyone has value, no different than we've got children that come in and they can assist with, whether it be gardening or whatever it might be, or walking a dog for that matter. People are coming in and they're able to develop those, whether they be artisans or whatever. And we really have to look at the intrinsic value. But we're going to literally have to go into our own gardens and get people reconnected back. And, people need to look at what's in their homes. We spend half the time going into people's homes now, and they've got chemicals, they've got Tide, they've got Javix, they've got bleaches, they've got all sorts of things, and they're actually contributing to the problem rather than being part of the solution. So we really need to go back and look at what's going on in our own backyards and make sure everything's in an organic and universal thing with no synthetic artificial chemicals, right down to like we wear, hemp and everything else, that kind of thing, or cotton.
Well, Karen, are you familiar with Jeff Lawton?
In what way? And how are you?
I mean, are you just familiar with him, permaculture guy down in Australia?
We have done actually permaculture where we are, and biodynamics in our areas, but that one's I haven't really looked at his stuff. Or I may have on Facebook.
Jeff just he makes a comment that the majority of our problems can be solved in the garden.
And I'm going to agree with a lot of that stuff too, but again, that's like an international treaty. It's like we shouldn't be doing anything to touch with animals. There's no necessity for that, and we know the intelligence of plants. We've been on the machinery too, that, we have been able to commune directly with those plants and listen to the creation songs as we each have our own. But again, permaculture is, there's a lot of things that go on in biodynamics, which is not necessarily vegan, and is somewhat esoteric as well. And we have to look at some of those practices as well. But I'm going to encourage people that really getting the water into place, getting your own pH back into place, getting those enemas and colonics, getting things cleaned out.
Karen, I'm just going to jump in here. We're going to run past the hour, but I'd like to get my thank yous on while we're on the air. We got a little less than 2 minutes here. Just want to say thanks to, and then carry your thought through. Just want to say thanks to all the listeners out there. What we do when we go past the hour will be in the archives, so don't forget to download that. Great big thank you to Critical Mass Radio online, criticalmassradio.co.uk. Thank you so much, Paul, Lisa, and the crew at Critical Mass for giving us this platform every night where we can get wonderful people in to start talking the solutions we need. So thank you. Carry on.
I hate to do this, but I do have an announcement I'd like to make before the end of it.
Go.
Okay, we have a special broadcast on United We Strike this Saturday. It's another United We Strike marathon. Well, actually, it's a marathon for the Free Your Mind conference for Mark Passio, and it'll be streamed through United We Strike. So you'll have Mark Passio, Frater X, you've got Freeman, Curtis Davis. It starts at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, so go to either freeyourmindconference.com or tune into United We Strike Radio, and you can listen to the conference there to help us all support truth, knowledge, unity, and solidarity. And thank you very much.
Karen, no problem. And just give me the details, and I'll make sure we announce it tomorrow night and Thursday and Friday nights as well. So we can make sure you guys get a good audience for that. We've had Mark on. We love him, and he's just a wealth of truth and information.
Thank you.
No worries. Hey, we do this together, yeah? This is how we do this, guys. We do this together. We do this united. We do it as one, and no more buying the lie, no more complying. Sorry. Anyway, we're going to roll past the hour. We're already in the recording now, guys. So any wrap-up thoughts you have or whatever, we probably have up to maybe 20 minutes to do. So please feel free, continue on.
Actually, I just wanted to add in here, we're up in a place called Prince Albert here today, which is just north of Saskatoon, where we've usually been. And I just wanted to share the incredible reception that we've had. So we're presently staying with some of the different people, what's called the Muskeg Lake Nations here. And so we've had a group of our people as well, which we do as well, permaculture and that type of thing, and biodynamics and grow our own type of things as well, and seeding and all heritage heirloom, and pretty well off. Like we've been off the grid ourselves for a long time. So one of the things too is that we're actually looking at taking these areas now that have a couple hundred people or literally a couple thousand that may be offshooted into the urban areas, and literally are going in, and it's already starting to turn into basically an eco-village. So there are some different members out there that are literally, let's say, going to get the greenhouse, which is now being secured right now. We have people going in to get a colonic machine. We have people going in now to go get a Kangen machine that will go into these community areas. The heritage heirloom seeds are on their way. We will be going in to meet with what was a dormant, empty, state-of-the-art 30-bed facility that we'll be able to use for advanced wellness and quantum integrative medicine there. That only 2 rooms are being used, but there's 28 beds that we'll be able to do raw and superfoods in there as well. So it's what you can do within the community, and no different than Saskatoon. Like last weekend, we went to a community gardens, and we went to share that information about the radiation and the necessity of you can't just be digging up the city plots, but we're going to have to be doing raised beds gardenings and straw bale and stuff like that, and get them enclosed. And the city of Saskatoon water certainly isn't going to cut it for putting more fluoride back in. So we've actually been blessed. The machines have been actually broken for just about 2 weeks. So anyway, I just want to say what just one individual can do here. So literally, we're going to look at assisting friends of mine that are part of this community and move this into basically an eco-village rather than a band or reserve, or what's classified in international law as a prisoner of war camp as their inhabitants, because these people have forfeited their rights as people have in what's called the second world or a secundum, and they're in the private or the public sector. So either way is not the way to go. So I just wanted to share that we had just great, incredible progress here in the last couple of days.
That's all we love to hear. You know, it's all about making the change and being the change, and we are getting victories on every front right now. That's where I know my own within is changing, and the tests that I've been through have given me this beautiful gift of compassion I would never have reached otherwise. And it's those tests by fire that really, really manifest that within. And I got to tell you, there's lots of times where I was just screaming, going, "Why?" You know. Now I know, and it's wouldn't trade it for the world. It's still difficult, but I would never trade this for the world.
Yeah. No, it's just amazing.
What we really need is compassion. If I could have one wish, I would give everyone compassion, because once you have that, then you cannot sit by quietly and allow the devastation to continue.
And one of these days, I'm going to have a radio show and everything and tell the whole world what I think.
One of these days.
One of these days.
One of these nights.
One of these days, I'm going to be a mouthpiece and piss off a lot of elites, and I mean it. Watch.
Well, the whole thing that's been really interesting is having people within the systems too. There's good people everywhere, and I think we just have to remember that. And everyone's having their kind of own little pod awakening time here. And again, the word passion or co-passion that's what compassion is we've got to have passion, forgiveness for a lot of this, and that's what we have to extend. But it's for us to get our own lives into alignment. It's really not about what the other individual is doing, and it's like an individual soul thing, or a mom or someone. You got to put on your oxygen mask here first. So I think that's really, really huge that we go forth and we do that. And people are trying to do the best they can, like all of a sudden, getting recycling and making sure people are composting. There is no such thing as garbage, by the way. And, getting things into alignment here first. Because a lot of these lands that are being kept in trust, that we have that are held for us, the people aren't going to go on them. They won't be at that dimension or that vibration to behold that. And, these areas, we've got so few of them left that we can take people onto. And like the Zeta Reticuli, whatever you want to call it, the zones, the safety zones are these safety areas. People can, actually be self-sustaining and prove that. And I think that's a huge thing. It's one thing to talk it, but there's no more time for talk. It's walking right now. And we're getting down to the crunch line. So we've got to see people actually walking that. And you can't help someone else till you're up on a higher ground. There's absolutely no way.
Yeah, well, I disagree with that, to be totally frank. I've got to be honest. And I'm sorry to come in abruptly, because I think if we can turn the consciousness of the people into understanding what's actually going on, we can turn this thing round straight away. I don't think there's going to be a major issue with that. All it is getting the information to people.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with what you're doing at all. Zero, zilch, zip, nothing, nada. But what I am saying is I'm not giving up on the human race yet. I believe I can communicate with people and I can get them to change their minds.
Well, that it's really not for you to be doing that, but part of it having been to have the ability to go into many of these situations and do assessments and stuff is that we could actually go into people's homes and literally clean out their kitchens and throw out 7 or 12 boxes and show them actually and do the education part and give them the best food ever, which we've done in many times. They still want to go back to what they know or what that comfort zone is. And so the education is a key component here. And so that's where we do totally oversee that, and we would not, we'd have to do things differently. So that's where I disagree with you, is that we disagree that we'd have to look at these kind of measures to implement something that's for the benevolence of everyone that way.
I'm going to meet both you guys right in the middle there. Going to meet you both right in the middle. Yes, there's nothing we can do to save anyone but ourselves. All we can do is lead by example and go in and show people. Therefore, once you've done that, the obligation of that, if you can call it guilt or whatever, I mean, we all want everyone to move forward and be, that's not the way it's going to be. I had my own awakening to that 2 years ago. I spent 2 weeks in severe depression knowing that we cannot save everyone, but we're going to do our damnedest to save as many as we can. So that's the middle ground with me, to agree with both you and Tony. And we do what we can.
All I was trying to say is there is a proportion of the human race, the 1.6, that I still believe we can change. And there is also, and I'm agreeing with you, Karen, there are people of 86 years old that haven't got time to change. It's done, it's over, it's finished. So I'm agreeing on both levels. There are people that aren't going to change, and there are people that are. But all I'm talking about from me personally, my mission is to help awaken those who still can change the outcome.
And want to.
Want to know.
Yeah, and my question going back into people too is we're going back here. Are you gardening? Are you growing your own food right now? I mean, that's my question directly even to you tonight. Is everyone here growing their own food?
Why does the economy need to collapse tomorrow, for example? The only reason the economy needs to collapse is because people are going to allow it to collapse. Well, why are they going to do that? Because it's lack of education. Do you see what I'm saying? We could turn around tomorrow like Iceland and we could say, fuck the bankers, we're going to do it ourselves. We're going to arrest the bastards for bankrupting the community and we're going to start printing our own currency. In 2 years' time, we'll be made up.
Well, I'm going to jump in here because we're all agreeing to agree on from a different perspective. Karen Quinn-Tostado has to go, so she wanted to get a last word in here if she can.
Well, I wanted to thank you very much for having me on tonight, and I agree that with Tony that we can change very, very quickly when we change our hearts and our minds. And the last thing that I want to say, and it's nice to meet you, Karen. I'm glad Lark came in. Thank you, Jim. And I sing a song of freedom. I sing a song of peace. We create what we see. It is time to be free. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Karen. That was beautiful. And you can. If you have to go, just hang up on your end. Don't worry about it. It won't affect me on the show or whatever. And we'll roll us on for a few minutes because I just feel we have a few more points that can be covered while we got the recording going. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Good night. I got a hungry husband. I gotta go.
Go. Love you. Thank you so much, Karen. We'll talk tomorrow, hon.
Thank you. Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
One of the things I just want to point out that I don't know, and this has been part of the problem we've seen within people trying to study this private sector and stuff like this, or what they call the freedom sovereign and all those sort of things, is actually know what the definitions are. So the last thing is we want to be of any of those kind of definitions and stuff. And a lot of people haven't done the studies on that, or they actually don't know what the term even a noble savage is, or really what the matrilineal clan mothers are, and really who's running this planet and how it is run. So one of the things, too, is the Great Law of Peace, is which has been entered into the Hague Court for a long time, is what governs actually this, and most people don't even know what those peace laws are. And so that's what I would really encourage people to do, and there is going to be no currency, and that's the law. And we're going back to those original laws. So there's not going to be what's happening in Iceland or anything else eventually. We're not going to allow any type of currency for that matter. And that's actually, even from a mom's point of view or love, you don't give someone so much money like in Monopoly here or there, or again putting some sort of a tagging of some sort of a currency again, as to having what free energy is. Again, you're tying into some sort of a currency, and that's not exactly what we want when we're talking 0 point or that kind of thing. So I just wanted to bring that very clear. This is not about what we're going to do. This is not about what the actual existing law is and how people are going to learn it and have to adhere to it, because it's already into place, and it's just a matter of putting it into practice now.
Okay.
And so that's what I encourage people to do. If you don't know the foundations of international law, then we'd suggest you do it. There's a lot to do with whether it be wampum belts or peace pipes or Noah's Ark for the white tribes. There's not as much on, or the ISIS Treaty or Solomon's Seal or the Palladium of Troy. However, the other ones there is. And this is about balance. So we're not having to reinvent the wheel. We're already part of it. It was our system to start with, and so it's just going to be actually, that's how it's going to be distributed and educated through. So really that's what these zones are. So most people have, they want peace and love and whatever, but they really don't know vibrationally or literally by law what that term means. So it is an international law term, and we've all agreed ancestrally, and also that is the rule and the law of the land, and it also is governed by the law of the flags. So we suggest if you want to go look up what Aboriginal Lands Canada is, that still is applicable internationally, and do a little studies that way. And then I think when people have done some of their stuff or looked at Meredith Quinn tribal laws, those were some of the few people that witnessed a lot of these hidden laws or treaties. And so when people have done, I think, a lot of their studies, they'll come back with their eyes opened a little bit more clearer that way. And it is quite eye-opening for a lot of people. And it's new information. We're going to appreciate a lot of people who haven't heard about this, but this is not anything new that our ancestors and our great-great grandparents, mamas and dads and all that didn't practice. So there was no money, or there's not going to be any.
No, there doesn't need to be any. And,
no.
and you know, there it is, guys. In a nutshell, you know, we talk about 0 point energy. Well, we mean zero, right? It was the Mayans. It was the Mayans that gave us zero. So, you know, just you know, the Roman system didn't have a zero. Wonder how they did their math. You know,
yeah, it didn't
weird.
Exactly.
You know, maybe they're. Oh, I know what it is. They had a calculator with a stuck down no zero, so all their calculations were wrong. That would account for the mess. Okay, that works mathematically for me.
Yeah, it's all about balance and coming from the heart. So whether we want to talk about that whole structure, but it's all about balance. And that's what co-creativity is. That's what about the whole triumph, confederacy, or the Trinity, that sort of thing was about. So we've got to come back to loving one another. And it's like, you know, how can you best help someone in this situation?
Oh, and you mentioned balance, and I do want to bring this up because I know we have a shit pile of new listeners. Like, if my Facebook contacts are any indication, it's going to be crazy. Well, yeah, it is good. It's amazing. I know what mine are getting like. And so, for the benefit of those listening that have maybe never heard me before, yes, I'm Gaia. I am what's called a two-spirit / transgender type of being. I like to make that clear because the voice really. I get texts all the time. I was listening to the show and it was some talking. You know, that's me. My picture doesn't match my voice.
Can I share something? And I'm not sure if you did this actually, Kate, but did you know that it was considered to be the greatest of honors in the original tribals to be a two-spirited? Because
I know.
I was assigned to the clan mothers for protection.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I know that, and we were top of the totem for a reason. We are the protectors.
That's right. So we'd like to thank you because a lot of people aren't aware of that. So I think that's a huge thing, and that's getting past the duality, polarity.
Yeah,
it's about having love for each individual being and soul, right?
Well, with me, it's a very, very humble gratitude and very humbling honor. The curse that was became the blessing that is. And it only took me a little over 4 decades to figure it out. So I'm okay. I made it in one lifetime, so I'm good.
We are worthy.
We are worthy, absolutely. You know, and besides, you know, guaranteed I'll walk into a mall. I make everybody's day interesting. It's all good.
It's really quite a wonderful thing. And once you start learning some of the basics to this, by the way, for people that don't think they're worthy, that's what the frankincense was for in the dental issue. So those little teeth are your pearly gates. So when we do the iridology, or as the Stargate or gatekeepers, that's what we're doing, the reading. So, and I'd encourage people if they haven't seen, not that I'm a big one for Hollywood, but is Avatar. Avatar is the legal briefing, great description of stuff, right down to how the clan systems work and how the clan mothers actually hold the power of life and death as well, and hold the swords, and is what they like to call it. And so it was a timepiece, and that's always been part of the prophecy, or the Hopi Mayan prophecy rocks. This is all at Revelations. And so we're really happy to be put in, and the legal term was called a castus omissus, actually. And that castus omissus, the clan mothers are also referred to as the angelic or angelic messengers, queens of the heaven, daughters of the Great Spirit, you know, again, the bearers of information, the queen of the sea. So those are just different terminologies people may have heard.
Yeah, the lust that the fallen ones had for the daughters of men was the power of the clan mother. That's what they were after, nothing else.
Exactly. And, you know, we've been really blessed because we've been, I guess, protected, if you want to say, for quite some time. And so it's just been, as we're kind of learning, I said it's like having training wheels right now. And so my training wheels are just coming off the last few months. And, you know, doing the international law documents again, and how we're going to actually secure this properly. So how we're going to put these forth, you know, into the right venues when we're getting them hand-delivered into the Peace Palace or the Peace Court. That's for us to be doing. you know. And there's an international court that will be reset up again. And the highest courts are actually held by the clan mums. So you want to talk about the judges? Guess who we are?
Exactly.
We'll be dealing with it eventually.
And speaking of, you know, this journey that we go on, you talk about taking the training wheels off. Well, mine were, you know, suddenly and very quickly chainsawed off, and I found myself doing quite a few face plants to figure this out. So,
yeah,
I got a few scratches. But I did want Jim, if you want to jump in with any comments, and then I can get and Karen, if you have anything else, and I can get Tony to wrap up the show, and because we got people chopping at the bit for the archive. Sorry, it's just the way it is. Jim, you there? Did Jim take off? Oh, look, we lost Jim. So there you go. So Karen and Tony, we'll leave the helm to you guys. I'm just going to push buttons when we're ready.
Yeah, I'm going to really encourage people, if they can, to get things into place, like their heritage heirloom seeds. Things are going to come down fast and far down the pipes. We're starting to get contact and stuff, too, with people involved. And no different than we know we've got tanks rolling down to Regina and also in PA on their way in. So there's a lot of things coming, and this is a good thing. So we don't want people being upset, but we're going to have to clean down each one of the areas. And so I'm going to encourage people to get the heritage heirloom seeds. They're going to have to get water into place. That's why we are looking at stuff, let's say, like Kangen machines or some sort of an ionization system, and pull out the fluoride. And as you clean out yourself, then we can deal with what's going on in the exterior. I'm going to suggest also people get superfoods. They're going to be stocking up, would be raw food superfoods that they can not only plant and start learning how to do that. Things that are easy to blend, and indoor sprouting, that type of thing. And forget about the cash and forget about the mercenary of war, that type of thing. This is a time of peace, and we're going to be looking at doing community gardens. So I'm going to suggest starting to get to know your neighbors here
real quick. yeah, there's it's coming down the pipe.
Community, yeah. We're already setting up for it, and we're setting up in Saskatoon, and it's going to be like the best day ever, which is why we're going into Calgary to assist there. And we'll be at the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo at the Big Four at the Calgary Stampede, the 5th, 6th, and 7th. We come back to Saskatoon, and you can reach us at Soul Salons there or on Facebook. And then we go back into the Seed event. So if you haven't looked at some of the stuff, you'll be seeing the prototypes of Amit coming in. Sherry Strong will be coming in. One of the things, David Wolf, Avocado, will be coming in. We just finished, wrapped up a whole weekend with the people down for the cosmic activation thing for the alchemy event down in Los Angeles as well. So it's a special for firing up the grid worldwide. So
that's awesome. Karen, I'm gonna have to cut you off. We're gonna lose the recording in about 30 seconds here. So I'm gonna I'd let you go all night. Yeah, absolutely. Tony, if you could do a quick wrap up before we lose the end of the recording here.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Just thanks for listening, and you know, we'll carry on trying to get you the best information with everything. You know, we'll do the best for you. Just keep listening, guys, and hang in there. We're going to change this thing big time. Thank you for listening. God bless, and good night.
Thank you so much. And Karen, you know the door's open, so just tag on anytime, and we'll get the word out, hon, and it needs to be gotten out. So thank you again for calling in, and thank you, Karen Quinn-Tostado, for joining us tonight for another wonderful evening of getting the truth out, and of course Jim calling in, and Lark, and Nick, who's still listening right now. What a trooper. Much love to everybody, and before the recording is gone, I love you. Take care. Talk to you tomorrow night.
Namaskar.
Right on.
This is getting to be so much fun. I'm just like, oh wow, where to start?
I know where to start. Well, we're going to finish, and we'll continue this on tomorrow with Outside the Box Open Forum. Much love.
Excellent. Yeah, we can probably tag in tomorrow.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, thanks.
Good night, all.